Hey everyone, I'm back. This is the third video, and this one's going to be a little bit different. This is the one on Islam, and I'm not as versed in Islamic studies, scholarly. Just slide the door. Not that I don't love the bird sounds when I'm just relaxing and being home, but might be a little bit distracting for the listeners. So you're gonna actually get to see me doing some of my research because this was one that I didn't already have in my memory bank. And then pretty much I'm going to take these three, the Christianity, the Judaism, and the Islam, and put it together with the analogy that I made about performative allyship, because I want to put it into a more structured video with bullet points and a thesis, and where I, set the camera up, sit down, look into the camera, and maybe, wash my hair and put on a clean shirt, but not that what I'm saying is any less valid, but it's just a little messy how I'm preparing it, and pulling different facts from here and there and doing it spontaneously, kind of on the fly. So this one, I'm going to read you the article that I'm reading. So pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to summarize what I thought of it, and then I'm going to read you the article. And then, like I said, I want to put together one that's more presentable, and also where it's more organized with points, and where also I cite my sources with research. So some of the sources that have been pointed out, I already pointed out, Jesus. So I just want to get the chapter and the verse in I think it was the book of Matthew. And I think it was 2 places in the New Testament, and then I found some more research about the Lord's Prayer, going back to similar verses in the Tanakh, and that there's an Aramaic version, and I still am researching about that. But anyhow, and about Aramaic. So linguistic studies, as well, because there's the sort of etymology and so on going on. But anyhow, so my take on this, the Islamic version, I believe is in the Quran, and also it's possibly in other oral traditions and written traditions, possibly other than the Quran, or from other scholars, whether they be more modern or oftentimes more ancient scholars, more contemporary of Muhammad. But it is directly from the Quran, and other people are expanding on it and sort of expounding what it means. But another point is that, like I said, the written and the oral tradition. So in Judaism, we have the Tanakh, or what's more commonly known as, the Torah, or the Hebrew Bible, or the Old Testament. As long as that's whatever, however you refer to it and that you're comfortable with, it's fine with me. And then that's the main book, like the New Testament is the main book for Christians, like the Quran is the main book for Muslims. And however, also in Judaism, there's the oral tradition, for instance, the Midrash, and the, I guess you could say the Tanakh is the primary, and then the Talmud would be the secondary written tradition. So sort of a conversation. So anyhow, I think that there are similar traditions in Islam, and I'm not sure exactly the name, but I know a little bit, and I know that there's the Quran is the main book, and the chapters in the Quran are called surahs, and there's another written tradition which I think, from my understanding, is similar to Talmud, which is called, I believe, the duas. But this is something I need to, so I'm still doing my research, but I'm pulling what I know from my memory bank, and but from reading this article, this is what I find fascinating, is that the teaching in Islam, it has some similar precepts in it, but it's a different overall teaching. You come off with a different takeaway, and I think that's great because it adds a little bit of nuance that we need, because people might think I'm calling out everyone or every white ally, and that's not, it was about a specific, thing, and I'm not going to go into what specific thing I saw or my friends saw, but it's not like everybody who's doing it is doing it wrong. That's not what I'm saying, or that everybody needs to take a beat from me or from these religious sources. I'm doing this, pretty much for my own entertainment, because I'm bored, and because I find it fascinating. But I think the Islamic interpretation adds a bit of nuance that's actually really helpful, and so I'll give you my interpretation of what I got from it. I believe that it's saying that there is a special benefit for your soul, or however you want to put it, that is received from doing hidden good deeds. That is, Allah sees everything you do, and Allah is the closest to you, okay? And so Allah knows what you've done even when nobody else does. So the things that you do that are good, that only Allah sees, they give a special kind of benefit. They confer a special gift unto you. Now, however, the difference is, which because that idea is kind of similar to what I've been talking about. However, the difference is, even though you get a special benefit from doing these good deeds in private, like I've been talking about, you are still supposed to do good deeds when other people can see them. And my interpretation is to be a good example. In this sense of a religious person, but that's also a good person, then the religious part, in my opinion, you can take it or leave it, but, more or less talking about doing good, not just observant and, keeping the faith, but all, in terms of being a good person, being a good human being. All right, so that is my takeaway from what I read. Now I'm going to read the article so you can follow along and see if you come up with the same interpretation. And then also, I'm not going to do it now because it'll be too long. This is already getting kind of long, but hopefully the article won't take that long to read. I'm also going to bring in the Buddhist concept, or the Buddhist and also Hindu and some other religions that have a lineage that they're connected, between Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, and different things, about karma and dharma and intention, because that's also kind of a flip side of what we're talking about. It's not exactly the same question. Maybe Buddhism also answers this question, but it's just because that was the most recent concept in Buddhism that I was looking up, and it does kind of relate to it. So I'm going to see if I can find more ways to relate Buddhism to this whole topic as well, okay? So anyway, this is an article from 2015. It's blog.islamiconlineuniversity.com, and it's actually pretty easy. You only type blog.islamiconlineuniversity.com/doing-good-in-secret. Simple. All right, at the top of the page where it starts, it said, These people, believers, hid their deeds, so Allah the Most High hid for them that which no eye has seen and no ear has heard. That's sort of talking about the special, benefit. Okay, so then it starts the title of the article, Doing Good in Secret, from 15 May 2015. The author is Ibital al-Khalifin, and it's tagged as featured, Hadith for Today, Inspiration Islam, Islam Daily, Quranic Reflections, and Sirah. Sirah is the concept that they're going to talk about, okay? The religious concept. All right, so now from this point on in the article, I'm not going to pause to editorialize. I'm just going to read it through and then maybe, pose a few questions to the listener when I am done, or simply ask, I've already told you my takeaway from it, maybe summarize it again, and did you get the same thing from it as I did? Or do you maybe, for the Muslim listeners that are on there, am I getting it right, So anyhow, hopefully this won't take too long. It's only going to be a few pages of the article. It'll probably take, overall about 5 minutes to read the whole thing and ask my questions. So, like I said, during the rest of the time that I'm reading the article, I'm not going to interrupt it. So everything you're going to be hearing until, obviously, I pause and stop and start talking just off the top of the head again, is not going to be interrupted. It's only going to be me reading the article for about 5 minutes. So it starts... These people hid their deeds, so Allah the Most High hid for them that which no eye has seen and no ear has heard. Hassan al-Basri. Performing good deeds away from the scrutinizing eyes of people overwhelms a believer with an aura of a special kind, a thrill, and an indescribable closeness to Allah. No words can ever describe such a feeling, as words are limited, yet the proximity of Allah is the complete opposite of that. Only those who struggle to achieve this can experience it. An action done truly for the sake of Allah, with the intention of pleasing Him alone rather than awaiting the recognition and appreciation of other people, is what leads to the manifestation of contentment and absolute joy in the heart of a believer. Moreover, in addition to the pleasure one feels when doing something solely for the sake of Allah, the solitude helps a believer rid themselves of a destructive heart disease that, if not treated as soon as detected, could eventually decompose one's iman, hence leaving them with a hard heart, na'uth billah. And this heart disease is called riya, hypocrisy. It is when one pretends to be doing good, but their intentions are actually evil and corrupt. It causes a person to perform an action for other people to see and applaud, and not just for the sake of Allah. Allah warns us in the Quran, He knows what is within the heavens and earth, and knows what you conceal and what you declare. And Allah is knowing of that within the breasts. Many a times when we perform good deeds, we feel satisfied every time a person notices and compliments. However, that should not be our attitude to praise. As scholars would always say, we have to learn to be uncomfortable with praise. Naturally, but not all the time, excessive praise causes our intentions to change, thereby leading us to perform a deed to please others and not just Allah. We become accustomed to it, and to the extent that future actions are done for more praise to be earned, rather than the pleasure of our Creator. To ensure that our intentions are always sincere and that our actions are solely for the sake of Allah, we should increase the number of deeds done in secret, as that would result in truthful worship, that which Allah loves. Good deeds in solitude teach us that Allah is the only one worthy of our attention, and that we should expect our reward from Him alone and no one else. Story time. Inspirational stories, especially from the time of the prophet, are absolutely important to refer to. You're supposed to say something when you say that, but I'm just going to read the English parts. Are absolutely important to refer to because not only are they informative, but also transformative. A man by the name of Daud ibn Abi Hind fasted for 40 years without the knowledge of his family. He would take some food with him in the morning and would distribute to the poor whilst heading to work. Family members thought he had breakfast at work, while colleagues thought that he had already eaten at home. When returning home after Maghrib, he would eat with his family. For him, it was iftar, while for them it was dinner. At the middle of the night, on a daily basis, Ali ibn Hussein, also known as Zain al-Abidin, used to collect food in a large bag. Having his face covered up, he would knock on the doors of the poor and needy and give them food. When they stopped receiving food from the generous stranger, the poor rushed out of their homes to see who had died, thus identifying him as Ali ibn Hussein. When shrouding his body, a black mark was spotted at his shoulder from the heavy weight he used to carry every night. These also have numbers. So that was like a first example, a second example, and this is 3. 3. Ibrahim al-Nikai was a man who used to hide the Quran if a person entered while he was reading from it. He wanted Allah to be the only witness of his action and to avoid people's approving gaze. How can we implement this in our daily lives? 1. If you visit some relatives or friends while fasting on Mondays and Thursdays and were offered some food, rather than announcing to them that you are fasting, try to say something else like, "I'm not feeling hungry," or "I'm bloated." However, avoid lying and try to excuse yourself politely yet smartly. At night, when all the family members are asleep, collect the remaining food and give it out to those who are in need. That was 2. 3. When making dhikr in a public place, hide your fingers from the sight of others so that it may be a secret action just between you and Allah. 4. Wake up at night and pray in solitude, even if it is just 1 rak'ah, but make sure that only Allah is aware of your action. And the examples are endless. The sarira, hidden action, does not necessarily have to be big or small. The only condition is that Allah is the only witness. The pleasure one feels when connecting with Allah is infinitely superior to the pleasure when receiving praise from other people. It is simply unfathomable. Important note, do not confuse this with the concept of enjoining in good. When we find ourselves performing good deeds, it is wise to remind others of them, and as Allah says in the Quran, and remind, for indeed the reminder benefits the believers. However, what is highlighted in this article are the spiritual benefits of hidden good deeds, that is, of strengthening one's iman, purifying the intentions, and establishing a connection with Allah, as it is just between you and Him. So, that was the article. So the bulk of the article is concerning these hidden good deeds. The pleasure you feel when connecting with Allah is infinitely superior the pleasure felt when receiving praise from people. That was like an image that, repeated something that it said. I want to look this up real quick because it's kind of disrespectful, I think. What do you say after Muhammad? You're supposed to say this, peace be upon him, or Allahi Assalam. So I think because there's Arabic written here, so that's why I'm not able to actually read it, because it actually does look like there's one Arabic phrase that's repeated over and over again, but then when they're talking about Ali ibn Hussein, there's a different Arabic phrase written after that, and that one is the same that's written after the Prophet. So all the prophets that you're supposed to say Allahi Assalam, but then after Allah it's got something else written there. So what do you say after Allah? So I'm sorry I didn't do that because I don't read Arabic. Anyway, so the bulk of the article, after the honorifics either praise or wish good things. So I think it's supposed to be after Allah. You're supposed to say Subhanahu wa ta'ala, I think. But I'm not sure if that's what's technically written there because I don't read the Arabic. But anyway. So I think that the bulk of the article focused on the doing hidden good deeds, but what it was saying is that you get a spiritual benefit, and that benefit is the closeness with your God. And that closeness is a central tenet of the Islamic belief about Allah, is that Allah is the closest, or I was going to say person or thing, but Allah is the closest to you. So that's like a very central truth to all of this, in the world of Islam. And so that's an important part, is that's like your spiritual life, your private spiritual life. And so it didn't go into much detail on it, but I believe, it referenced the Quran twice. And, this is the kind of thing, like, for an outsider, reading the surah, all the surah says is He knows what is within the heavens and earth and knows what you conceal and what you declare, and Allah is knowing of that within the breasts. So, in other words, your intentions and what you do in private and so on. And it talks about this, doing good in order for other people to see. It actually links that to another article, so I'm going to see what that is real quick. This article is called Seeking Sincerity. This one's from March 2014. I'm not going to read a whole other article right now, but it's just sincerity. It's asked certain questions like, do I ignite up when criticized for an act that I did for Allah? Do I expect the praise for the good that I do? So it's going into more detail about that idea. So that is clearly, what most of the article is talking about, and that's from the first surah, and it gives footnotes at the bottom. So that is called Surat al-Taghabun 64:4. So mostly the article is talking about that, but in the second surah that he references, which is only, he only says like one sentence about that, elaborating on that, but it's, and remind, for indeed the reminder benefits the believers. So it does put a lot of emphasis on doing good deeds in private, but it also mentions that there is still an importance to doing some good deeds where other people can see you. And I think that that importance is of being a good example for other people. So next I'll be looking into the Buddhism version of it a little bit more and doing some more research backing up the things that I've said about the Islamic version, the Jewish version, and the Christian version, just because I want to cite my sources and all of that. And then I'll come back and do a salon where I put these all together, plus give a little bit more from a social justice standpoint, background about the term performative allyship and, what are some of the pitfalls of that, and how can we unlearn it and learn a new and better way. So thank you for listening again.